Happy Sunday, everybody. We went to 4 continents and 20 countries last year, and we're going to tell you how much it cost and break it all down for you. Stay tuned. Hi there, we're Chris and Steve from Eat, Walk, Learn. We're an early retired couple who left our corporate America jobs in May of 2021. We sold everything, including our home in Denver, Colorado, and all the things in it, plus our cars, just so that we could travel the world full time. Everything that was left we put into our 2 carry-on suitcases so we can travel lightly around the world. Would you please take a moment to subscribe and like? We share our tips from our Nomad life, take repositioning cruises to get from continent to continent, and we enjoy gorgeous hikes in beautiful places around the world. We also try to eat vegan as often as we can. We hope you'll enjoy reading one of our latest books, including 50 Hikes in 50 States, or our bestseller, 2 Carry-Ons and a Plan. You can pick them up on Amazon next time you're there. Please follow us on social so you can join us every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for sharing our adventure with us. Where are we?
We are in the beautiful state of Maine in the United States of America.
Despite the Mexican music you might hear in the background.
We're just having a great time here, just reflecting on our year that we've just had. We've been to some amazing, incredible places, and I just want to ask about, can you travel to incredible places internationally full-time on a budget? And we're going to be talking about our budget and how much we actually spent this year. But I thought we'd start with talking about where we've been, and then we'll get into the numbers.
Yeah. So stay tuned till the very end. We're going to tell you how much we spent and how much our budget's going to be for next year. So the big number reveal is at the end. And we apologize to our friends who've been waiting for this video for 2 weeks. It just took us a little while to put these numbers together. So we're going to kind of fade over here into a pre-made video of our a nice geographical representation of all the places we've been. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. What an amazing year. We started off just outside of Porto, Portugal, where we hiked the Camino de Santiago to Santiago, Spain. Then we hopped a plane to Dublin, Ireland, a train to Sligo for our house sit, a train back to Dublin for the summer. We then hopped a plane to London and took a train to Dover, England, where we hopped on a cruise ship that went around the British Isles, stopping in Liverpool, England, then up to Glasgow, Scotland, down to Holyhead, Wales, and then over to Belfast, Northern Ireland. We then dropped into Dublin, and I forgot to add that we also went to Cork. Then we ended up back in Dover, where we hopped on a plane and flew to Split, Croatia for 6 weeks, and then Hania, Greece for another 6 weeks. We flew back to Genoa, Italy, where we hopped on another cruise and cruised to Rome, and then down to Crete again, and then through the Suez Canal, which was absolutely amazing. We ended up in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where we stayed on the boat, and we also went to Jordan for a little while, and back to Egypt for a couple stays, and then back to Saudi Arabia for a couple stays, and then we flew to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where I got my knee done. We were there for 2 months. I forgot to add that we went to Singapore for New Year's. Then we went up to Penang, and then flew over to Borneo, and where we saw orangutan. Ended up in Chiang Mai, took the night train to Bangkok, went to Surat Thani to Khao Suk National Park, took the plane to Krabi, and then the ferry to Koh Phi Phi, flew to Vietnam, did a grab to Hoi An, then flew up to Taiwan, and then we flew over to Japan, and then took a train to Tanabe, where we hiked the Kimono-Koto across the peninsula to Shingu, took the train back to Tokyo and Yokohama, where we jumped on a ship, and went up to Kodiak, Alaska, and through the inner passage to Seattle, met some friends and did a house sit, flew to San Diego to see my stepmom, then flew across the country to DC to do a house sit, and then ended up in Portland, Maine to see my mom, my sister, and my daughter. So what did you think of that video?
I thought that was incredible. We pretty much went around the world, didn't we?
We literally circumnavigated the world when we went through Denver on our way back to DC. So that's our second circumnavigation, by the way. Our first one was in 2014 when we went around the world.
And Chris might write a book about it. She did write.
Anyway, moving on.
Yes. This is my favorite video because we get to talk about the numbers.
You know what? He's like a spreadsheet dork. I mean, you were MC certified or something in Microsoft Excel. So he all year long he waits for this video to just go through the numbers and show you all his fancy dancy pie charts and all kinds of things. So if you're not a numbers person, this is not the video for you. But if you are someone who's thinking about financial independence or wanting to launch a nomad life or wanting to figure out how to travel on a budget, at a very affordable, comfortable budget. If you watched our video last week, you saw how many cruises we took, how many places we were, how many hikes we did, how many amazing adventures and experiences we had. So we lived a really, really rich life. And now we're going to tell you how much it costs. So why don't we start with your very first chart you're so excited to share?
I am. So this is just a simple chart that shows how much money we spent by month compared to our budget. Our budget was $4,000 a month. And as you can see, we had some that were lower, a couple that were a little higher. We probably had, I think, when I look at this, there's an outlier. It's like January. What happened in January?
What happened in January?
And we talk about our numbers. Everyone. I was a big spender in January. But we had some things that were very easily explained. So one is that we count our spending in the month that we spend it, not the month that we use it. And it just so happens that in January, we paid for a cruise that we weren't going to take until April. So our cruise across the Pacific to get back to the United States, we paid for that in January. We also had a couple of, I'd say we have maybe a splurge in that we both got new luggage.
We got our new luggage. We got new Osprey bags. So
I love my new bag.
And we're going to do a little packing video in a couple weeks with our new bags. So stay tuned for that.
We also realized that we needed new passports. We were running out of pages of stamps in our passports. So that was a little bit of an expense. It's certainly not something that we had planned for. So January was certainly an outlier.
So now that we figured out why January was so expensive, let's go ahead and talk about our categories. So we have 8 categories that we track our money in each month. And at the end of the month, we total up our numbers and we look what they are. What we've done is we've added those up together for the year. Now, what is not included in our overall expenses is any medical procedures beyond just our normal wellness checks. So like we went to the doctor, saw the GP, did all of our healthcare in Kuala Lumpur, which we talked about in our video here. That is in our budget, but my knee surgery, for example, is not. We actually have a separate bucket of money that is used for catastrophic events, which my knee wasn't catastrophic, but that's how we class it. If we had, a heart attack or something like that, that would come out of a different budget. But all of the our flights, our transit, our administrative costs, everything is included in our budget. So let's go ahead and look at our categories.
Yeah. So if you take a look at the total categories, housing is certainly our biggest category. 28% of our total spending was in housing, followed by food and drink, which is 20%. But you also want to add in groceries. So we kind of break those out separately. So food and drink is what we spend out at restaurants. Groceries is what we buy at grocery stores. And then travel is the next biggest, is at 19.2%. Health and wellness was 10% of our total. Shopping, which is just, buying things that we buy is 7.5%. Entertainment, 6.5% of total. And followed by bills and utilities is 4.5%. That's for things like our phone bill, things like that.
And Netflix and that type of thing.
Yeah.
We also want to point out that we did take 3 cruises last year, and we split the cruise budget across both food and travel and entertainment. So that, it's a big chunk of money that we just kind of split up, 50-50 or 40-40-20 or something like that.
And housing. So, because we're on a cruise, it's like a moving hotel. So it's our housing budget, it's our travel, it's our food, it's our entertainment. And we do some allocations of that, so we just don't throw it all in one. It would just totally knock off the numbers
right.
like that.
So I think what's really interesting is how many beds and how many hotel rooms and such that we stayed in. Did you put all those numbers together?
Yeah, I did, and it was actually kind of interesting. I loved, drilling down on the housing piece, because I feel like at the end of this year, we had some pretty fast travel, and it turns out at the beginning of the year, we had some fast travel too, followed by a lot of slow travel in the middle. But we slept in 65 different places.
Is that 65 different beds, right?
65 different beds, yeah.
At the beginning of the year was like, we're doing the Camino, so every other night was something, and then we were 2 months long in Kuala Lumpur, and then we were going through Southeast Asia. We had 5 days, 4 days, 5 days, 4 days, or whatever.
Right.
So do you have a breakdown of how many different Airbnbs and house sits and things that we did?
Yeah, so you look at it, we spent it, like we talked about cruising, we spent in Airbnbs, we spent nights in hotels. So the total in Airbnbs was...
The total nights in Airbnb
or 132 nights out of 365 days were in Airbnbs. In hotels, 108 nights in hotel rooms, 50 nights in house sits, and then 36 nights in with friends and family, and 39 nights were spent on a cruise ship.
And how's that break down by percentage of our housing?
Yeah, so 36% in Airbnb, 29% in hotels, 13.7% in house sits. You get the figure, you get the idea.
We told you there was going to be charts and graphs all day, but stay tuned. We're still going to tell you about our big number and our budget for next year. Please remember to subscribe so that as we go through our year next year, you get that little alert letting you know that every Sunday at 5 o'clock we've got a video coming out. Yay, subscribe. Okay,
Yay.
so did you want to compare this year's housing to last year's housing? I
Yeah,
think that's
so
really
let's do some comparisons
But wait a
now.
minute. So last year our budget was $48,000 and we came in at like $51,000, right?
Yeah, the first year of our travel. We're talking about the second year. So,
Right.
yes.
So, and I think it's important to note that our year is January or June 1st to May 31st. So that's what our year is. That's why we're not on some calendar year.
Exactly.
And by the way, tell us happy anniversary. This is our Nomad anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Yay.
Yay.
So anyway, so we compared the numbers with our last Nomad year.
Yeah. So back to housing. So what we're looking at here is comparing our housing in the second year compared to the first year. And the thing that really stands out is the number of house sits, the number of nights we spent at house sits. We had over 150 nights the first year in house sits, and that's down to 50. So we reduced that by more than 100 nights out of the year.
Yeah, by a third.
And
Or two-thirds.
by 200%,
Yeah.
300%, whatever. Anyways, increase in Airbnbs, a significant increase in the number of times in hotel rooms, a little bit of a bit of an increase in friends and family and
but
cruising. Everything else is up.
But I think what's important about the difference between our 2 years, our first year we were in Mexico and Europe pretty much.
Right.
And our second year we were in Europe and Southeast Asia. And so when we're in the more affordable countries like Southeast Asia, there's really no incentive to house sit. The housing is super affordable. You know, I mean, we budget about $50 a night when we're in Southeast Asia, and we can live like kings and queens on $50 a night in Southeast Asia.
Right.
But $50 a night in Europe does not go very far. So a budget in Europe, a nightly budget in Europe might be $100 to $150. So that's when house sitting really pays off. We get almost 3 to 1 on the dollar by house sitting compared to where like a Southeast home. So Southeast Asia home.
And a couple other subtle things. So like, for example, we went to Kuala Lumpur specifically for medical care. We were there for over 2 months. And it's kind of hard to do a house sit when you're taking care of your knee and you're going to the hospital and such.
I'm taking care of my knee and you're taking care of me.
Right, but we didn't want to have the burden of having to take care of somebody else's house and take care of somebody else's pet. That really would have been kind of irresponsible for us.
Right.
And also, we wanted to take advantage of some of the longer-term Airbnb discounts. So if you're 28 days or more in an Airbnb, you can get some really significant discounts. We did that in Split, Croatia. We did that in Crete.
But I do want to say we are looking for other platforms beyond Airbnb. There's some politics of Airbnb that we're not really keen on, and we don't like how the gentrification of Airbnb is happening around the world. Yeah. So we are looking for some other alternatives and really think that's one of our intentional goals for our third year as Nomads is to think about other ways to stay and contribute to local economies and maybe not stay so much in Airbnbs. We'll see how that, test us on that at the end of the third year. Okay, What's next?
Right, so we're going to go back to looking at all the categories, and we want to compare what our spending was in year 2 versus a budget. So we had a budget for year 2, and we had a budget for each category. And the thing that stuck out for me is that we came in 33% lower than our budget for housing. So we talked about housing, we talked about how much more we spent in hotels and how much more we spent in Airbnbs. We actually came in 33% under budget for our housing. And food was another one. We came in 11% under budget for our food total. We spent a little bit more for eating out, but less on groceries.
And probably you can attribute that to when you're in Southeast Asia, it's just cheaper to eat out, period. I mean, you can eat out cheaper than you can cook at home. So we ate out, for almost 5 months, I don't think we cooked in 5 months. So
quite a bit of eating out, but I will tell you, thumbs up for pad thai and banh mi. These are my favorite foods now. and can't wait to go back to get my $1.50 vegetarian banh
Some pho
mi.
and some, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So the food expenses were down, and then anything else on the budget?
Yeah, there were a number of things that we exceeded the budget on. One is shopping. We went 100% over our budget.
But we didn't have a budget the first year for shopping.
We didn't
right?
even
Yeah.
have a budget for shopping.
We added budget in.
So it's like, it's okay if we buy a few things. And so we did need new suitcases and
clothing.
We
We
got
buy-
those.
yeah, we buy a lot of
clothing
clothing.
because we were going from
Hot to
Europe
cold to hot to
cold. So
casual to formal to, yeah.
So we went over budget on those. We went over our budget on entertainment. We said that we wanted to spend more money on entertainment. We're constant,
We're
concentrating
very
on
intentionally this year. We spent money on experiences. We actually watched or read the book Die with Zero. If you haven't read that, take a look at that. Basically, the theme of the book is if you die with money, you didn't do it right. So we thought, you know what, if we want to spend more money, I don't think we're really going to upgrade our housing or upgrade our transit, but we certainly could upgrade our experiences. So we really intentionally
want
looked
to enjoy it. And we
Yeah.
did. We had a fabulous year. But you're implying that we must have gone way over budget, right?
All right, drum roll. Are we finally going to talk about our big numbers?
No. We
No!
want to do another little comparison.
Oh,
We
another
wanna
comparison coming up.
Yeah, so we were talking about year one versus year two.
See, the spreadsheet guy just wants to throw in another spreadsheet.
We had to take a look at, how did we do versus our first year of full-time travel. And again, our housing was lower. We spent less money than year one on our housing, even though we were in a hotel.
Well,
Nice. We had some nice places, didn't we? Spent some really nice
Yeah,
places.
we did.
We spent less money on food. Again, we talked about some of the conveniences of being in Southeast Asia.
Also, I think on the hotel budget, we actually started using some of our points too from hacking. So the
Right.
first year we really didn't get into using our points. We were more concentrating on earning them. This year we did spend probably 7 or 8 different nights in hotels, and that was paid with points.
Yeah,
So like we did
number
that.
of nights,
Yeah,
right.
the
With free
Conrad and lots of Hiltons and. So anyway, we're finally
Yeah.
learning how to use our points, which this year is also intentionally we're going to use some more points this year.
Exactly. But again, we went over last year on shopping, on entertainment, health and wellness. We'll talk about our physical exams that we had in Kuala Lumpur. Was just incredible, and we're going to do that again. We think next year. So we're going to tell you how did we come in versus our budget, and then we're going to tell you a little bit about what we think about we're going to do for next year.
Right. So drum roll. Honey, how much did we spend? And what was our big number on our $48,000 a year budget?
We spent $48,661, 1% over budget. Wait, high five?
High five. Yay.
So-
And I think what's really important, what I'm really proud of is over Memorial Day weekend, the budget ended on Monday, and we could have waited until Tuesday, but we went ahead, since we had some money left in the budget, we went ahead and purchased our next cruise, and the purchase of that put us over budget. So we kind of came in under budget. But
If
we
we
took
had-
it,
would've
yeah.
waited
But
till
it's good
Wednesday,
corporate
yeah.
America. You always spend your budget, so we spent
you
our
don't get it
budget.
back,
So
right?
making us go over the $661. So pretty proud of that. I mean, what an incredible year! We bookended it by hiking. Make sure you watch our video from last week about all the things we did last year. 4 continents, 20 countries, 2 long distance hikes, 3 cruises.
Incredible adventures. Scuba diving and yoga retreats.
And
Big
temple
cities.
climbing and
Singapore,
and
Taipei,
Singapore for New Year's and
Tokyo.
God, it was
We went
just a
through
year.
London.
London,
We were
yeah,
in some
and
really
Glasgow
fantastic
and
places.
Dublin and anyway, it was a great year. So what does, now that we know, so we've got 2 years in the bag. The first year we were over by about $3,000, but I think that was our Nomad launch year, and when you launch, there's just a lot of expenses right up front that you just incur immediately. So I kind of feel like we went over budget, but we didn't really, because we had a strange month, our first month. And then their second year, we went over budget $661. So I think we should stay with $48,000, but you don't think we should stay with $48,000?
I don't think so. I think for one thing, I want to give myself a raise. We can't. The budget is just a number. We can spend more if we want to, and I don't want any haters to say, "Oh, you came 600 over your budget. You're a failure." No, we're not a failure, and we can spend more if we want to. we are living a very intentional life now. We are enjoying ourselves to the fullest. And we see the next year, stay tuned, because we've got some fantastic things that we're doing and great places that we're going. And we're not going to be in a lot of cheap places. So
Yeah, we
we're
got an
going
expensive
places
year
that are
coming up.
considered pretty
Yeah.
expensive. So I'm pushing that we give ourselves a raise a little bit, maybe a 5%.
Well, you know, but before we give them the number, people were asking us about inflation all year long. How's inflation
Yeah.
hitting you? How's
Yeah.
inflation hitting you? Well, fortunately for travelers with the U.S. currency, inflation was a breeze because inflation at home makes the dollar really strong nationwide, worldwide.
Yeah.
So we had
well, I don't know if you can draw that correlation, but it definitely.
Yeah, we had a
the
strong
US
dollar.
a strong dollar.
So we didn't. So there might have been inflation to the locals, but for us coming in with a strong dollar, we just did not see that. Now,
And it's
when we
still
came
strong.
back to the U.S., we did actually see the difference in the 2 years that we were gone. It was quite shocking to see the difference in prices.
The food prices in restaurants is just.
Yeah.
It feels like we were gone for 2 years. Coming back, it feels like things are about 20%
So-
higher than they were.
So I think next year the dollar is still going to be strong, and I think
It
inflation is
is.
going to come down a little bit. But nonetheless, you want to be the big spender next year and maybe comfort up our life a little bit. So
Yeah.
where'd we settle?
We settled on a $52,000 budget for next year.
Yep.
That's about a 7% increase over what we spent this year.
Yeah.
And showing it to you by category, compared to last year, compared to what we spent last year, we're going to increase our numbers by 5% on housing, 13% on food, 9% on travel, and then just kind of stay flat on a lot of other categories.
What's
Maybe
that
an increase in-
25% one? Oh,
Well,
food
that-
and groceries.
That's the groceries. we were just eating out so much.
Well, no, and I think this coming year we're going to have we're eating in expensive places, and we will be doing a lot of grocery shopping. But I think the groceries are going to be more expensive too. I mean, you go to Thai.
That's true.
In Southeast Asia, tomatoes like 5 cents, but everywhere else it's like $1. So, we're just going to hit some more expensive places for food. Anyway, that's our budget for the year. We hope you guys enjoyed our breakdown. If you have any questions about how we spent or what exactly was in a category, let us know. If you want Steve to come and do your spreadsheets, that makes him so excited. He can't imagine a more fun day. But let us know what you think. We did this amazing year for $48,661.
And 25 cents.
And 25 cents. Could you have done that? Or how would you have done it differently? Tell us what you're thinking. Ask us a bunch of questions. We'll see you next week with, I don't know, we'll have been in Maine for
Whole
a
new
week.
year.
Who knows? Maybe we'll spend a lot of money next week to kick off the budget. Freeport, Maine, here we come.
All right.
All right, see you guys later. Talk to you soon.